Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 2, where we have constructed this monstrosity. It is quite a thing, to be sure. We need to test it, but we need to strut it first. So let's just go through and do some really quick strutting. I'm going to go from the outside in. So we're going to do something like this. This needs to be what? 6-sided symmetry, I believe? Something along those lines. That is not what I wanted to do. Okay, let's put that back. Yep, that's absolutely fine. No, I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on this. Okay, there we go. So now the question is, where did that strut go? It is over here. Gotcha. So we need to do this, but make sure that they're all connected. Like that. There we go. That's more like what we're looking for. So now I want to do a strut here and here. That should be sufficient struts for the SRBs. Next, I want to make sure, well, we could strut them each together out here. I don't think that's strictly necessary, though. Let's strut these together like that. And then we'll strut together perhaps something up here. I'm thinking about... Nope, I hate it. Okay, can we cancel this? I guess we could just do that. It kind of keeps them around in an awkward manner. Okay, noted. Okay, that's even more awkward. I need to stop missing those clicks. So we are down here, right? And I want to remove this strut. Yeah, these are not removing in a mirrored manner. We're just having to remove each one individually. That's fine. So for now, I just want to attach about here and about here. And we'll do an attachment down at the bottom as well. So that's going to be from about here to somewhere like... That's awful. Why is it trying to do it like this? Can we not? I don't know where it actually connected. Yeah, like that. That's more like it. So that seems good. And then these out here are not connected. We'll have to redo that. These broke. Okay. I do not like the way that struts constantly break when you undo in this game. I'm going to be upfront about that. That is something that should be fixed. Okay, so that's fine for right now. There's a strut up here, apparently, that we should get rid of. Okay, so these are all strutted together reasonably well. I think I'm going to do another line of struts like this. Then what I'm going to do is strut from here to... Hang on, this is 6x symmetry. Cancel that. We need to get rid of all of these, though, because they do not get rid of them when it's in symmetry mode like this. We need this to be in quad symmetry over here. Okay, this is going to be very tedious. Again, this is one of those things that should be fixed. Hopefully it is by the time the game is out of early access, because this is tedious. So removing all of these struts one at a time, yeah, not a fan. Must admit to not being a fan of that one. Just generally, the way that struts and fuel lines work in KSP2 in the VAB here, and in the way that fuel lines in general work in KSP2, I do feel like KSP1 is superior in that regard, for sure. However, that may change. Hopefully that changes. Let's just take a quick peek around here. I think that's almost all of those struts. There's one here, one here. Any others? I'm looking internally right now. Here's one. And I think that's probably all of them. Okay, so we're in quad symmetry now, and I want all of these to get strutted together like this. We can do the same thing up top and strut them like that. Then I'm going to strut these in and just make sure they're nice and rigid like that. Okay, and now we're going to need to strut these. So we're going to strut them together down here at the bottom. They probably don't need more than that. Then I'm just going to strut them like so. And the question is, do they need any more than that? Did that actually connect? It did. Okay, looks good. So, well, I am going to connect them like so. Now, we need to run a quick test flight of the monstrosity here. And the question is... A, how much excess DV does this have? I suspect it's a lot. And B, does it get into orbit? That's an interesting question. And C, assuming it does get into orbit, does this engine blow up these tanks? Let's find out. Let's save this. And let's put it out on the pad, and maybe we should double check our staging first. Yeah, that's the core issue here, is that fuel lines, right? The way I want this to work is I would like to have the fuel line here, allowing fuel to transfer between tanks. Yes, I want the fuel lines to exist out here. We're going to need this in 6x symmetry, and they would go in like that, right? Then we would come up here, and we would have these fuel lines in 6x symmetry that would end up going in like this approximately. Oh, that created a giant mess. Okay. That created an absolute giant mess. This is supposed to be 4x symmetry, and that's why. Gotcha. Yep, that'll do it. Okay, so we're going to have to clear all of these out again. Again, this is a somewhat tedious procedure here. We could leave them there, but they do impart a little bit of mass, and we would definitely not like to have that amount of mass. So this is definitely a bit of an issue that these are not still connected and can't be gotten rid of in one go. But whatever, it's manageable, I say as I misclick. That's going to break everything, isn't it? It broke all of these. Yup, okay. So I should not be doing the Control-Z. That's the takeaway here. Control-Z should not be done. Period. So I'm going to go down to 4x symmetry. We're going to look to fix these. So that's going to need to be somewhere out over here. Okay. We're going to look to fix this as well. Approximately there. Okay, so that should be those struts fixed. Now we're going to need to fix these struts. That's very tedious. Okay, we're going to come down here. These struts broke as well. Yeah, this certainly needs work for making more complicated vehicles. There is no doubt about that. That 100% needs to be done. But for now, this will do, and we're going to head up over here. I think these struts are broken right now. That's actually a fuel line. Okay, so that strut is good to go. These struts are still broken. Oh, very broken. What is this connected to? Over here? Wildly broken. So we're going to have to get rid of those and redo those struts. Okay. So we're going to not do a fuel line here. We're going to do a strut down this way, like that. Cool. So our fuel line here is done, but it's going to work in slightly an odd manner. No doubt about that. We're going to have to take this down to 4x symmetry at this time. Then we're going to do a fuel line from the outside in. So that works something like this. Then as far as the lander goes, we're going to do a fuel line from the outside in as well, except there's not really that much of a point in doing it. And the reason for that is we don't have a central engine here. So that's noted. Okay, let's save this in its quote-unquote fixed state here. I hope it's fixed. And let's think about putting this out on the pad. This is saying it's a significantly lower amount of DV. I don't think that's necessarily true. And I'm just double-checking all of this. There is no engine here, so that is actually correct. Is this a decoupler? It is. Yeah, that is also correct, actually. So that looks good. There is these engines, and there's... Oh, yeah, there is an engine there. That's right. So we do actually want to have a fuel line up here, then. I forgot about that. That engine just does not actually fire until all of this is burnt out. Okay, so we're going to do something like that for fuel line. Cool. Okay, so with that all done, the staging here is going to be kind of wild. We're going to need to create a new stage here. This needs to come down here. Which of these is drogues and which is mains? I'm not sure how much it actually matters in KSP2. We could maybe have all of them be in the same place or something. This is... I don't know which is drogue and which is main. This is a main chute here. That sure looks like a drogue. Hang on. Mark 16R, Mark 12R. Yeah, I think the Mark 12R is the drogue chute. These are mains. These are drogues. Okay. That seems reasonably fine. Now, this staging needs to be moved down a fair amount to be, like, here. But for now, this'll do. Let's put this out on the pad and do a little bit of testing. It probably has issues. Let's see what we've got. This is going to be kind of wild. No doubt about it. Okay, this is an interesting angle to be looking at, to be sure. I don't know why it decided we were looking at it from that angle, but okay. So let's launch this thing, and we'll see how this goes. It'll be very interesting indeed. I guarantee you there's going to be problems. Go ahead and launch. Oh, we don't have Kerbals in these seats, for one thing. That feels incredibly slow off the pad. Okay. I expected that to be a little bit faster off the pad. That is a potential problem, but let's see how this overall ascent goes. The thrust to weight will considerably increase as we burn off some fuel, right? Another question that I have, though, is how is this fuel drain going? Because we've got these, actually not the non-stageable resources, this is fine. I want to go into the resource manager here, and we can go into our Methalox tanks here. And I want to keep an eye on these central tanks, right? I want to be pulling only from the exterior tanks. Is the way that I want this to be working. And I don't know that that's how this is actually working. I don't feel like this is all of the tanks here. Okay, that's not 31 tanks. Whatever. We'll see how it goes. But I'm not convinced that this is working correctly. I'm not convinced of that at all. Our Apoapsis is very low skill. Our surface speed is not great. It's only 150 meters per second right now. Like, this is an incredibly slow vehicle. Also, the frame rate is not fantastic, so there's that. That said, the frame rate will likely improve as we make our way out of here and ditch bits of it. So that's probably reasonably fine. I want to go straight up as much as possible here, and we're just going to see what happens when these SRBs detach. Because, yikes, this is very, very slow. No doubt about that. I am seeing that this engine actually has a different amount of fuel from these engines, so maybe it is working correctly. That's intriguing. We'll keep an eye on that. We're only moving at 300 meters per second, though, and that is definitely not great. Also, the music is a little loud at this moment. But the SRBs are going to detach momentarily. Okay. So there goes the SRBs. Fantastic. At this point, we can see our time to Apoapsis is going up, so that's a good sign. We're just going to continue to raise up our Apoapsis here. That is going to be very important. I'm wondering what these stages are. Okay, yeah, we definitely want to move this guy down here. And it didn't actually move. Okay, there we go. That's more like it, but that needs to actually go here. Can we swap these, please? Thank you. Cool. So we're only moving at 400 meters per second right now. That is not phenomenal. We need a lot more meters per second at this point. Apoapsis is only 28 kilometers. So this first stage is still feeling very, very underpowered, right? That's not shocking considering our current science position. But we need a lot more verticality here. Our apoapsis is only 33 kilometers. We're going to be ditching these side stages pretty soon, and I'm thinking once we do that, we might want to just go pure horizontal at that point. Our apoapsis is up to 40 now. I think we are finally starting to get some actual apoapsis here. I am concerned about making it into orbit, though. That said, our speed is building up. We are losing a lot of efficiency to gravity. There's no doubt about that. Like, this delta V is not very high, right? There's no doubt about that one. We're going to be ditching these side tanks fairly shortly. And when we do, our thrust to weight is going to drop dramatically. So we're at 70 kilometers right now. Ooh, this gravity turn has a lot, and I mean a lot, of spin to it. Okay, I'm trying to get this turn under control right now because we are wanting to detach. Let's see what happens. Okay, we pushed it a little bit, for sure. We definitely pushed it a little bit there. Okay, so we need to be getting, like, maximal horizontal speed at this point. This thing is extraordinarily heavy, and we knew that would be the case with the tech that we had. That's why we did it the way that we did. And we need as much horizontal speed as we can possibly get right now. So we're just parking it about here. The next question that we need to answer is, once we are out of this engine, which is not pushing us very quickly, what is it going to look like when we start fuel flowing up here? Well, I think we're going to have to manually do that fuel flow. But that's reasonably okay. I actually want these to be merged together into the same stage, like this. I am concerned, however, at our apoapsis. For sure. We may have to be forced to continue to burn prograde, and burn prograde much earlier than we did here. This is mostly just a testing of the first and second stages here, just to see how it ends up going, right? So this delta V is not necessarily phenomenal, but it's good enough. We're just lacking a significant amount of speed. Like, if you look at this orbital speed right now, it's not great, right? This stage is not very powerful. We're not getting very much horizontal speed. So I don't think this is a viable ascent trajectory. Let's bring it over to prograde for right now. And that should start at least increasing our orbital velocity fairly soon, but we're having to combat a lot of gravity here, and that is understood. We'll be able to overhaul this first stage pretty significantly. But yes, this seems necessary. So I want to continue pushing out our apoapsis here. We can see time to apoapsis is dropping at this moment. But it's not dropping at 1 second per second. So this might actually be viable to get into space. Now, I am planning on reverting this flight. We have already discovered some issues with it. It doesn't have great attitude control, which isn't shocking. And it also has a few problems here and there. There's no doubt about that, including a very weak first stage. Very, very anemic. The question that I have right now is, do we have a problem with the plumes from these engines hitting these tanks? And we need to find that out. We're currently about 20 seconds from apoapsis. It's actually a little longer than that because we're pushing the apoapsis out. But you can see our orbital velocity here is very, very low. Incredibly low. We have a long ways to go until we get into orbit. And a lot of that can be changed by altering our ascent trajectory. So that is definitely something we're going to want to do, but I want to address the power level of that first stage. That certainly needs work. Just getting the SRB portion of it boosted up in terms of thrust to weight would be absolutely significant. So let's see what we've got here. Yeah, I was afraid of this. So we immediately saw 2 of these tanks burn off. There goes another and another. So that is a core design problem that we're going to have to solve. Absolutely. I'm wondering right now, what is our fuel drain looking like? This shouldn't look correct at this point. And let's see here. Yeah, this isn't correct, which is exactly what was expected. But burning off those 4 fuel tanks is, of course, a significant issue. So we can address that by not using these engines and giving this stage its own engine. That will add to the weight of the vehicle. And yeah, you can see here, it's not great. We don't have the orbital velocity that we need. We knew that was going to be the case. Let's bring that back to the VAB, and we've got some issues. So, problem number 1. I think that we should put... I'm just thinking about the engine status on that second stage. I was really hoping to reuse our landing engines. That would be very efficient from a weight standpoint. But obviously, that engine plume causing significant damage. Now, I want to take a look at this stage here. This is 1.49 thrust to weight? Oh, this is in vacuum. 1.29. That's more like it. Okay. So we can make some changes here. We can go up to 6x symmetry, duplicate this guy, and put it right about here. Then we can do the same thing again. Actually, no, that's about the best we're going to end up doing there, I think. Unless we wanted to, like, cram in a third one over here. But I think we probably want to move this over to about here. And then move this over to about here or so. Like that. So it'll end up being something like that. And we would need these to all detach simultaneously. And then this would go away. These would all fire simultaneously. So that puts this up to 1.44 thrust to weight, which is on its own a huge improvement. So that's all good. The question is, what do we want to do about this stage? I would prefer not to put engines on it. We could just put in a singular engine. So that would end up being something like this, looking to transfer over, right? And then the decoupler would go right there, in theory. Something like that. That's a theoretical possibility. So then in our staging, we would be looking at this engine being somewhere up here. What engine is this? This engine definitely does not fire here. Okay. We need to change around these stages. Can we please move these? It's weird the way that it wants to move them. It seems like you have to mouse over the number. I don't know. It's kind of bizarre. So we need a new stage here. That's going to be this guy. This engine would fire later. So the SRBs... these are all combined together. Okay. We don't want these up here. So that would be these guys. I would want these to move out into a new stage. Okay. So something like that. These SRBs would fire or rather would detach about here. Okay. Then we would want to have these decouplers, which are here, moving out into their own stage. They would detach next. Oh, that goes actually here. Okay. So these decouplers detach, and then we are on just the center core at that point. Then we would want a decoupler, which is in here somewhere. This engine would be moved up. So we have this engine here. That would fire at the same time as the decoupler. And where is this decoupler at? There should be a decoupler here, right? Yeah, there's definitely a decoupler there. So that is in here somewhere. This one. So that goes here. Then this engine does not fire for a good long time. That's going to be way up here for now. These 4 engines are going to fire later. So this engine fires, and then we want these 4 decouplers to fire. They go here. Okay. And then this decoupler would fire much, much later. These 4 engines would fire after these 4 decouplers here. So they are here. Yes. So then we would want the 4 engines here to fire. But that would happen like after this decoupler, I think. So it would be something along the lines of this. Okay. Then these 4 decouplers decouple. And this engine fires. I want the engine to be with the decoupler. Okay. Not that decoupler. This decoupler. Okay. So these 4 fire, and then this engine fires. Then this decoupler happens, then our chutes. Okay. We're going to have to manually deploy the chutes on Duna, but that is the rough setup that we've got here. Now, that may not get us into orbit here. We'll have to test that. That will be a next episode sort of thing. This thing is an absolute monstrosity, and I hate it, and we're absolutely going to overhaul this significantly once we manage to get more tech. That is absolutely going to be necessary. Much better on the DV, though. No doubt about that. This should be a much better ascent overall, and we'll see how it goes next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamers, Shadow Wolf, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.